Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hopenning. We have created here a safe space where you will definitely find hope because hope is happening here. I am Fran. I am a 34-year veteran elementary school teacher, soon to be retired, and to do my passion, which is rapid transformational therapy, full time. At this point, I am a hypnotherapy practitioner, and I am up here in Northern Alberta, Canada. My co host, Marina, is in Calgary, Alberta, where she is a full time clinical hypnotherapist specializing in rapid transformational therapy. And she loves it, and we both do. And this is Hopenning number 69. So, welcome from wherever you are. And we are extremely privileged tonight to have an expert in stopping smoking. And Marina, would you please introduce our guest?
Thank you, Fran, and thank you so much for being here, Janice. Yes, you are the very first stop smoking expert that we've had on this show, and that is such a fantastic field to be in. So Janice Burgess is from Kanata. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Saskatchewan, Canada. And she is also a rapid transformational therapy practitioner. And Janice is a stop smoking coach, and she's been doing that for the past 20 years. She's also a retired pharmacist. So she is assisting people to create their personalized stop smoking plan. So very welcome, Janice. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Fran and Marina. I'm thrilled to be here and share whatever you want to know about what I do.
Fantastic. So let's just start right away. Janice, how did you get into this? What is your story?
I started really in my pharmacy career with the stop smoking side of my profession. And so helping clients that came into the pharmacy quit smoking. And then I used to teach other pharmacists how to help their clients quit smoking. And then that progressed then to me working one-on-one with many clients, having referrals. But it really, I guess, what drives me to keep doing it is my dad died when he was only 56 years old of lung cancer caused by his smoking. And I think back to, oh my goodness, if I had known back then what I know now, and even if I had had a conversation with him about how I was worried about him and his lungs and his smoking, he might still be alive today. He would only be 86 years old today. And I miss him every day. He was my best buddy. We used to go for long walks and talk all the time. And he missed out on so much of his life. So I don't want anyone else to have a family member who's missing from those important parts of their life. And I also want people to give up smoking and be both, alive and healthy into the future. So it's a big one.
I see that. I mean, usually when we get into helping professions, there's a backstory, right? We always have a backstory of what happened to us, which planted a seed, I suppose, plant the seed so that we can heal as well as help others heal. So, Janice, where you're working in Saskatchewan, is there a high prevalence of smoking still, even though it's sort of like the Western world has moved away from smoking? It's not as socially okay anymore. But I know where I live, and it potentially where you are too. Is there still a high percentage of people who smoke?
There still is. I mean, we've come a long way in our work in tobacco control, but if you look at the cost benefits, the cost to healthcare in our country, it's still a big factor. It's still one of the most expensive treatable diseases out there. And so a lot of times, unfortunately, in healthcare, we're working on people who already have disease. Whereas if we can prevent a lot of this from occurring and people getting into a place where they might have cancer or COPD or other illnesses that you can't come back from, then we're making a huge impact. Tobacco control is not as big of a priority for our healthcare as it used to be, but it's still really an important thing for all of us to consider. I think we're seeing about 20% of the population in Canada do still smoke, and although that's lower than it used to be, it still gives us lots of room to work with lots of people. I always tell people the waters are very blue out here. Come and help me.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's interesting because my grandfather died in his 50s as well. And he was such an esteemed and well respected and loved person in the province I grew up in South Africa. But I never really got to know that part of him because he literally started to smoke on the farm when he was 9 years old.
Yes.
And he smoked himself to death. So I can so relate to that story. And a lot of times I have so much regret that I didn't know him better because I was 9 years old when he passed. So it's close to my heart. And then, after I remember it was in the early 2000s in Alberta when the laws changed to ban smoking from public places. And I've never smoked in my life, but I grew up with smokers around me, not in my immediate household, but some of my siblings as they grew up, they smoked. And it's very interesting to travel now to countries where people still smoke a lot and see how much that bothers me.
Yeah, you really notice that. I do too when I'm in countries or state in the US or different places where smoking is still, lots of people do it everywhere they go, and in indoor spaces as well. Okay. And I think that, there's definitely lots of places we could have an impact. And it's a great way to, I guess it's very rewarding to see the benefits that the client experiences just by even reducing or giving up the smoking completely. It's amazing. I often see them come off their other meds. We see things working better for them. They have better control of other health issues. It's profound, the difference it makes.
So when you were doing your coaching for 20 years, how did that work? Like I understand the RTT part of it, and we can go into that later, but the coaching part, to coach someone to stop smoking, how did you do it? I mean, I think of one of the addictions. Smoking must be one of the most difficult addictions to try to kick.
It is, however, it is and it isn't. People hear all the time how hard it is to quit smoking, but one of the things that my clients often say to me afterwards is that they say, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be. I think they just hear from others that maybe haven't tried RTT or haven't had a coach working with them, that it was difficult for them, and they believe it. So with the RTT, where it comes in is that we get people thinking differently about all of that. And and that's a huge part of it, is just telling people that they are going to quit and have no cravings or withdrawal, and it's going to be easy, and they're not going to replace the smoking with anything else. So there's some huge pieces there that the RTT really filled for me. When I was just coaching before I had taken the RTT and incorporated that into it, we still went through kind of meeting the client where they were at, and then helping them create the quit plan that would work for them. But the RTT just allowed us to go deeper. If that's what they wanted, sometimes they can go right into a regression where they figure out exactly why they started smoking in the first place. Often it's reasons they didn't even realize, or just do sort of the base where we're just getting them thinking differently about the smoking. They no longer glamorize it. They no longer, they realize that they don't, whatever reason they started in the first place, they don't need it anymore. It's gone. And smoking then becomes something they used to do.
So I have a couple of questions here. One is, what made you decide to add RTT?
Well, actually, it kind of fell in my lap because I like Marissa Peer, and I had listened to a lot of her videos and things. And then when COVID hit, I thought, oh, I was stuck at home a lot, and I thought, okay, I should just take a course. I should just upgrade. And then that sort of came across my computer top, and I thought, yeah, this maybe is a good fit for what I currently do, and maybe it's something I can add into what I currently do. And it turned out it was just meant to be.
And did that change your practice quite a bit in the way you work with clients?
It did. I wouldn't say quite a bit, but it certainly made what I do more, I guess more, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm more efficient. So I'm more in tune to where the client is at, as far as, what are they telling themselves that makes them keep smoking? And is that really true? And I get them to start questioning if it's really true. And 9 times out of 10, it isn't, whatever they're telling themselves.
And then another question is, so you were a pharmacist. So you went from giving people medicine, pharmaceuticals, right, to doing hypnosis. So tell me about the difference, the bridge between the two of them.
Well, they're really, pharmacy, there really is no bridge, unfortunately. It would be good if there was more of a bridge between RTT and those types of modalities and the science type professions, healthcare in general, because I feel if we tap into a lot of the why, a lot of the deep underlying reasons why things are occurring and why we're feeling the way we're feeling, there is so much more we could be doing to benefit clients, to benefit ourselves. I'm a firm believer in meditation as well, and I use a lot of the meditation strategies when we help create a quit plan. If the client is willing, I provide them a meditation they can use, and so there's so many non-medical, non-drug type things we can do to make our lives better that we never embrace, unfortunately. And I gave out drugs every day, but what I saw a lot of the time was that people were on 12 different meds, and they probably didn't need half of those, and they were probably taking some of them to counteract what the other ones were doing. So I'm a pharmacist who believes in reducing the number of drugs. I also do firmly believe that some medicines help us dramatically, and we can't give that up completely. However, it's become kind of, oh, this is happening, let's take a pill. And a lot of times it may not be the best answer, really. That's my belief.
You were talking about prevention earlier, and I think what we do a lot of times is to prevent so many other things happening. And I mean, not that we're talking about pharmaceuticals today, but I work a lot with weight loss, and Ozempic is kind of something that's up there in the mind right now as a very easy way for people to just suddenly lose weight. So I don't know what, if you wanted to share your thoughts on that.
Well, I think where I see it used the most is in diabetics. And for some diabetics, it's very useful because it gets that A1C down quickly and effectively. However, and the weight loss is often a benefit for them. They're often overweight. But so I think I would look at it more in a person-to-person basis. Really, that person, would they benefit from other things? Would they benefit from, a different, a different way of thinking, just a different way of eating, a different way of, just life in general, treating their, anxiety or stress or whatever it is that may be happening as well, and causing them to eat. It's not uncommon for smokers to eat more when they quit smoking either, some of them. And some will gain up to 6 pounds. And so that's a concern for some. It really is. And so, but when it's related to smoking, you would need to gain 100 pounds of weight to have the same harmful effects as the smoking. And so we really focus on that, and let's get rid of the smoking first, and then we can continue with the rest, right? We continue with, helping you keep the weight down and not gain it. Or if you do gain a little bit, that, let's get working on that next. So it just kind of transitions into really more time with the client and more connection with them, really. And by then you've kind of figured out what this person is like, and what specifically might work best for them.
So in your practice, Janice, I know I've hypnotized several people for stop smoking, and there's a common theme that I have found. But is there a common theme that you have also found? Probably Marina shares that as well. What have you found is often the underlying?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you there.
What is the underlying reason they started in the first place?
Yeah. Wow. I'd have to say probably the one I see the most is when they were younger, that sense of connection with friends. And at a time when they were actually trying to feel happy. And so they associate the smoking with feeling happy. But the truth is that those people would like them whether they smoke or not. They really would. It's just, maybe fitting in. I am enough if I'm smoking, or I do fit in with this group. And we're a very lonely group of people out here in the earth. And so if you get that instant connection with somebody over a cigarette, like them saying, come and have a smoke with me, and then you have this instant friend, it takes away a little bit of that loneliness. But it also provides an addiction that is difficult to get rid of, really. It takes only about 3 days of regular smoking to become addicted. And many of us start when we're very young, and so then it's even quicker, So what do you find in your practice when you use RTT? What is your common theme?
Same.
Anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxiety for me.
Yeah. Or
anxiety. Yes.
They had a disconnection here. Usually family of origin didn't feel like they were accepted, or didn't feel like within the family of origin. And so in order to connect, in order to feel a connection somewhere, whether it was friends or older siblings, the older, or even sometimes with the parent or grandparent, to feel just a connection. Hanging out and cigarette smoking, whether it's in the living room or whether it's down the street or whether it's behind the school, just to fulfill a feeling of belonging.
Yeah. It is a big one. The stress and anxiety is interesting too, because lots of people use smoking to relieve stress or anxiety. However, the up and down levels of nicotine in our body are actually causing more stress and anxiety than if that person were a non-smoker. There's some really good studies out there that have shown that the moment someone started smoking is when the stress and anxiety really yeah, really elevated. And I'll sometimes ask my clients that too, is when did the stress and anxiety show up for you? And it's about the same age as when they started smoking.
So what I'm hearing then is that the stress and anxiety increase because of the chemical effect of of the nicotine.
Of the
That's
nicotine.
very interesting.
Yeah, because as soon as your brain starts metabolizing some of that nicotine, it's already thinking, where am I going to get my next cigarette? It's that level of addiction happens very quickly, and the stress and anxiety starts to rise again.
So it seems like it can also be quite layered. It's not, that, I mean, sense of belonging or not having a sense of belonging sometimes comes from another missing link in childhood, like you both know very well. It's that I'm not enough, I don't belong in my family. And then you go look for that belonging somewhere else. And stress and anxiety, I mean, there can be so many other things that is behind that, smoking becomes kind of a catalyst, and it may increase that as well.
That's exactly right. It is a catalyst. And but people don't really sometimes associate what's going on with their health with the connection to their smoking.
That's what I love about RTT though, right?
Yeah. It really helps you. Well, knowledge is power, right? And it really helps the client identify for themselves, oh, okay, now I get that the reason I don't sleep is because I smoke, and I get up through the night and I smoke, and they start to realize that there's quite a few things there that they maybe didn't think about to start with.
So Janice, I know what we do in RTT, but can you let our listeners know basically the process? Like, we talked a little bit about the regression and finding out what happened in the childhood to, have a feeling of not belonging, or have a feeling of whatever need it was to pick up that first cigarette and continue. But how do you progress through a session? In case there's people out there that are like, wow, maybe this is going to be the clue. Maybe this is going to be it, how I can quit. What do you do with your clients?
Well, the first time I meet with them, we usually, it's sort of a lot of information gathering, and that kind of helps me identify what would go into an RTT session as well. And for some clients, I will say that they don't want to regret. They just want to think differently about the smoking. They don't want to regress. They don't care why they started. They just know that they want to quit. And so those are typically a bit easier to work through. And it's really just about getting them thinking differently. The client will usually then start putting some meat and some backbone into their quit plan, their personalized quit plan. And I'll usually give them, some ideas on options, like, going, reducing gradually to a 0, or picking a quit day and just quitting on that day. And then we work all of the strategies and all of the thinking into that RTT session. If they want to regress, then if they want to know exactly why, where, when, and how the smoking became important for them, we will plan on a second session, of course, too, and do a much lengthier RTT than if it's just changing the thinking about the smoking. So I'm making it sound way more complicated than it is, but actually it again is very client driven. It's really, what do they want to do? Do they want to reduce? Then I give them quite a few strategies. We get them thinking differently to start with. Do they want to pick a quit day? And then we work towards that day. Usually it's a very, realistic. I make them put numbers to it. Like I'm sort of their cheerleader, but I'm also their accountability partner. I try to keep them on track and just really encourage them to take slow steps in the right direction. And then I check in with them often too. I do find that that really does keep them accountable if they know I'm going to be phoning and checking in on them. And in fact, sometimes if they're not answering, I know that things have gone awry. And just try to email them or touch base with them some other way.
Yeah, that
And then
sounds
you
very
do,
familiar to what we do.
yeah. Do you do the recording as well? Do you provide them with the
Yes,
recording of what to listen to for the next 3 weeks, or
absolutely.
yeah.
I find that it's not uncommon with this particular group when we're trying to get them to stop smoking, that I'll have to, after the 3-week time frame, revisit and just kind of see what's come up for them. Many people will have quit, but other things are, have come up, or they have a slip, or there's, it might be that they use the smoking to not eat. And we're anorexic actually. So there sometimes requires a second kind of session after that 21 days and maybe a new recording. But it's still, I still use a lot of the parts of the stop smoking RTT incorporated into the newer recording as well.
So Janice, do you work in person or online or both?
I do both, but mostly online.
That's great.
By Zoom. Yeah, I find that I've really found that for me, it's just as effective.
Yeah. Same.
And yeah, and really, I think people feel maybe a bit more comfortable even when it's online, because they are in the comfort of their own home. They're even though they've never met me, I guess maybe there's some comfort in knowing that it's a safe place just to meet online rather than in person. They might sometimes, although I've done both, and I don't think people hold back or anything like that when it's in person, but I used to do quite a few in a physician's office. They would refer clients right to me. And I just worked in their little office 1 day a week. And so that was cool too, but really I like it. I like doing both. I feel like the online works just as well.
Amazing. I just love the online. Sorry, Fran. I love the online because especially in Canada, it's not as high a percentage of people who smoke, even though 20%, in my opinion, is still too much. But there may be another culture out there that watched this today and like, oh my goodness, there's somebody that can help me stop smoking in Saskatchewan. So
vaping has sort of become the new smoking, and so I do lots of little info sessions for students in schools about vaping, because they're vaping in class actually, and they're getting in trouble in school. And so we just go in and I just go in and kind of give them some facts about that. But is it safer than smoking? Yes, there's fewer chemicals. But there are some issues with that too. I always tell the kids in school that it's like running across the freeway and hoping you get hit by a car instead of a truck. That's how I compare vaping to smoking. And so is it safer? Yes, but it's still, that doesn't mean it's not, dangerous or harmful to us. So it's just good if they know the facts. And I feel like once they hear some of the facts, they think, oh, yeah, I'm not going to vape. Like it's of no interest to them anymore. So.
Yeah, I rudely interrupted you, so I'm going to let you have the floor.
I was going to ask you, I like to self-hypnotize myself and to do the whole RTT process with myself when I have time, just to find out other things that I want to find out about myself and why I react and why I do the things I do. And part of what I do when I self-hypnotize is talk to, when I've figured it out, then I'll, in my little girl mind of what actually happened when I was a little girl, I like to talk to the person, the other person involved. And so I'm just curious if you ever did that for yourself, did a self-hypnotism session and talk to your grandpa about why did you smoke? What was it that,
Yeah.
like, it's always so
Well,
interesting to get that other point of view.
that's a really cool question. Because I also have a friend who does she does kind of a bit of a spiritual coaching. And so she gave me an opportunity to kind of, she speaks to angels. And so she gave me an opportunity to speak to my dad through her, basically. And it was kind of interesting, but he was very young when he started. He's probably 9 years old when he started as well. And so, yeah, just became super addicted, and at a very young age, probably. And I think, I don't think that was a specific question that I had of him, but he did tell me that he, through this coach, he did tell me through her that everything was all right, and that that he could have been healthier, but could have been around longer, but it all kind of worked out, and he was fine where he was, I guess, basically is what. So I found that quite interesting. That may be kind of woo-woo for some people to sort of hear that. But there were some things she mentioned to me that only my dad would have known. So I kind of embraced it and felt like it was giving me the right information about him. But yeah, it's, I've never done it to myself on the self-hypnosis. Well, just in some of the sample videos that Marissa has provided, but nothing deep like that. But I also feel like I get a lot of that from my meditation. And so I kind of rely on that pretty heavily to go deep within and explore maybe what I need to happen in my life, the projects that I need to work on, and some of those things. And I feel like things go very smoothly when I do that. Visualize my perfect day, visualize my perfect life. I'll often do that with my smoking clients, as I'll really encourage them to visualize their perfect day without smoking, and visualize your perfect life without smoking, and how wonderful that can be. And experience that all the, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I feel like that's a very powerful part of some of the things that we talk to our clients about, is just making them realize how wonderful they're going to feel.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
the visualizing, like what you said, the writing it out, write it out again, think about it, spiritualize with it, spend time with it. I mean, make it yours. Grab that and take it and make it yours,
For sure.
rather than the other possibility, right?
There's so many like strategies people can use, and they probably don't even think about it. Like, even just thinking of yourself as a non-smoker, there's a lot of power in that. And so I tell my clients, your brain is your best employee. Tell it what you want it to do. Keep it happy. Tell it you don't want to be a smoker anymore, that's not part of your life. Things like drawing a line on your cigarette and just smoking to the line, you can reduce your smoking by half, basically overnight. Making smoking feel less comfortable. And lots of people will, they have made the decision to smoke outside, which is fantastic. However, they've got this nice little comfy chair, and they've got their book and their phone. They're very distracted when they're smoking. So it's too comfortable for them, and I can help you revamp your smoking area so that it's not comfortable anymore. Buy a different brand, use matches instead of a lighter. Just start making little changes that can really make it feel less comfortable. And because it's become very comfortable.
If they smoke, one of the reasons is because they can get frequent work breaks. What do you replace that with?
Well, it's kind of interesting because there were some companies in Australia actually, or I guess one was in Japan, where they paid the people who didn't smoke on their workforce for not taking breaks. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think probably I would just really encourage them to, yeah, go outside, get some fresh air, do some deep breathing, do some stretching, do something else. Just don't smoke on that break. We all need breaks in our day for sure. And if they're in a very stressful, a very, toxic work environment, there are some people that probably do need more breaks than others, but do it in a healthy way. Do it in a way that honors your body, really, and doesn't hinder you from, being that best person you can be.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Janice. How do our viewers get a hold of you? How can they contact you? Where can you be found?
Probably the best way to contact me is my email address, and it's jbquitcoach@gmail.com. And so, yeah, and they can just shoot me an email and we could book a time to talk. That's one other nice thing about the online service, is that you can meet with people anywhere in the world, really. And so that, anyone's welcome. And we can even just have if they're not sure, that we can just have a preliminary talk and make sure I'm a good fit for them. It doesn't have to be a commitment that day. I know sometimes people, I think the rumor is that I'm pretty good at what I do. And so they sometimes don't want to, they put off the meeting because they are worried they have to smoke, they have to quit that day. I never pressure them into doing that. It's got to be their quit plan, and it's got to be on their terms. But definitely, I don't know why sometimes people continue to smoke. I might say that to them. So why continue? Like, why, what concerns you most about giving this up, And the answers are basically, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I'm smoking those 2 or 3 a day. It makes no sense. But just, I guess if you never quit, then you never fail at quitting either. So
that fear of the unknown as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's a big one for lots.
So what is your message of hope for us today?
Oh, well, as it relates to smoking, there's a benefit in every situation to quitting. Absolutely. Even if you have terminal cancer, we've done lots of exploring into, does it really make a difference at that point? And there are benefits in every case. You have more options to different drug therapies for the chemotherapy. If you have better treatment options as far as stem cell research, or so every person who gives up smoking will see a benefit. That I'm very sure of.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much again, Janice, for being here with us, giving us some hope.
Thanks for inviting me.
An amazing job. That's really
Thank
wonderful.
You. Thank you. And hope to listen to your podcast soon. And now that I know you're out there, I want to listen to some of the other speakers and stuff too.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fran.
And I'm sure that the families of the smoker are even more appreciative of you. Maybe
there's a sense of relief. There really is, if you don't have to worry about your loved one as much. And what a nice gift that is, to give somebody the gift of being both healthy and alive for years to come. Yeah.
I smoked when I was a teenager, right? I smoked from the age of about 16 to 19. And my mom, who had never smoked cigarettes in her life, mentioned it often to me, like from that 21 years old to the time that she died. she said, Franny, aren't you glad you quit smoking? And she would use it with that tone of voice, right? Aren't you glad? And I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm glad. But I could hear it in her voice that she was so glad for me, right?
Mhm.
You know, I'll never forget that.
Absolutely. She was.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Yep.
you again, and thank you, Fran, and thank you everybody for tuning in today. And you know where to subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.